Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Today we're going to be talking about a couple of different things. Later on, we're going to be talking about how Cornell University's arXiv, an open access preprint repository, they rejected two submissions from Dr. Beatriz Villarroel recently. She sent these submissions. They were scientific papers that were related to her discovery last year of evidence that shows that the entire planet was surrounded by more than 200,000 UFOs during the 1950s, based on these photographic plates that were taken by astronomers back in that time. We'll get into that later on. They refused to print her two scientific papers about this, to share them with the scientific community for peer review and all of that kind of stuff. But meanwhile, at the same time, they published a critique of their papers, and we'll get into all that later on. First, I want to talk about this amazing story that I came across this week with regard to a 6-year-old girl who had an inoperable brain tumor, and her mother was laying with her one night, and all of a sudden these three dark cloaked figures showed up, humanoid figures showed up in the bedroom, and apparently cured this little girl, removed the brain tumor, and doctors were amazed. This happened back in 2018 in Florida. We're going to talk about that first. And so there's an article. This is from Lon Strickler's website, Phantoms and Monsters. And headline reads here, Unexplained Healing Hooded Humanoids in Child's Bedroom. And it says, in July 2018, a Florida mother claims she and her young daughter experienced a terrifying yet profoundly transformative encounter inside their Orlando area home. What began as another anxious night beside a terminally ill child reportedly became an unexplained healing event involving three tall hooded beings. The case raises difficult questions about anomalous intervention and the possibility of unknown intelligences influencing human health. And here's what it says here. Here's what the article says. Here's a direct quote from this mother. I recently came across your blog and read about several experiencers who described being cured of terminal illnesses after encounters with unknown humanoids or extraterrestrial beings. After reading those accounts, I felt compelled to share what happened to my daughter and me. Please do not use my name. We live near Orlando, Florida. On the night of July 25th, 2018, I was asleep in my 6-year-old daughter's bedroom. She had been diagnosed with an inoperable cancerous brain tumor, and I had been staying beside her at night. We suddenly woke up at the same time and saw three tall, hooded beings standing at the foot of her bed. Each of them appeared surrounded by a strange, glowing aura. They seemed to be communicating with one another, but they did not speak to us. When I tried to reach over and touch my daughter, I realized she could not move. She was conscious, but only her eyes could move. The beings then moved closer to her bedside. As they did, a peaceful sensation seemed to wash over her. The one standing closest bent down and touched her. At that moment, everything became completely silent. I do not remember anything after that. The following day, my daughter experienced a massive nosebleed. She expelled a very large blood clot, so large that it almost caused her to choke. A few weeks later, I took her for a scheduled CT scan at the oncology center. Within hours of the scan, her oncologist called me at home. His voice sounded shocked and almost disbelieving. He told me that the tumor was completely gone. He said it appeared to have been removed by a laser procedure. He asked if she had undergone any surgery he was not aware of. I explained that nothing had occurred except the severe nosebleed and the expulsion of the clot. He asked if I had saved the clot, which I had not. He then ordered additional tests and diagnostic studies. Every test came back clear. There was no evidence of cancer or lesions anywhere in her body. 3 months later, she was officially declared cancer-free. It has now been 4 years since her diagnosis. My daughter is healthy and active. A few years ago, I spoke with a woman in Tampa who described a similar experience. She had stage 4 colon cancer that had spread throughout her body, including her brain. She also reported being visited by 3 tall hooded humanoids at her home. Her cancer was completely removed. From our perspective, these events are real. We believe we are living proof that such miracles can occur. Yes. So this is something that happens. You see this pop up in the literature sometimes where people are cured by these aliens. They have cancer or lesions or things that just they're not going to get rid of, but so all of a sudden they disappear and they say that they were visited by someone or something, beings. Some people think that they're angels. Some think people say that they look like extraterrestrials, but for some reason, sometimes these beings do cure people. Uh, and actually, I know Preston Dennett's done shows on this. In fact, I'll leave a link for one of his more recent shows where he talked about people getting cured by aliens of whatever's troubling them, diseases, cancer, all kinds of stuff like that. So obviously, these beings have the ability probably to cure everything, I would think. I mean, I think that these beings are so advanced, there's probably no disease whatsoever that they have to worry about. I believe that they know they have all the answers when it comes to this. I wish they would share them with us rather than letting so many people on this world suffer. It's so nice to see that something did intervene in the case of the 6-year-old child. I think that's just heartbreaking to hear. Every time I hear children with cancer, I mean, I know how everybody feels the same way. It's just such a sad situation. But to see something like this, to hear a story like this, of course, can we prove it? No. All right. No, none of this. A lot of this stuff is hard to prove. I mean, we don't have the actual person. The person doesn't want to share her name. Apparently, she reached out to Lon Strickler, told him the story, shared the story with him. He published the story, and it's an amazing thing. And it does seem to happen sometimes. I just, it'd be nice if we, had this, whatever they have, right? I mean, healthcare business would go out of business, right? The insurance business would go out of business. I mean, if we had stuff like this, right? The next day she's better. I mean, she had an inoperable brain tumor in her brain and it was terminal, and there was nothing anybody could do about it, according to this story, if it's true. And I have no reason to believe that it's not true. I know, because there's a lot of stories like this. That's the reason. The reason I believe it's probably true is because there's just so many different cases like this where people were healed by apparent non-human intelligent beings, and I guess that's what these were. Well, what else were they? Tall, hooded figures show up. How did they know? I mean, maybe these people were targets of abduction, and the aliens recognized that, oh, this little girl here has a tumor. Maybe we better step in and take care of that for her. Maybe that's what happens sometimes. Maybe some people who are abductees don't even know it, right? The aliens see that there's some sort of a medical issue, and then they take care of it, right? That could be the case. Maybe that was the case here. Maybe the mother was, and the daughter, and who knows, maybe other people within that family were abducted here and there throughout the years, and maybe they realized, okay, we got to help this little girl here. So they send these 3 humanoids out to take care of business, and the next day it seems like everything's all better. Right, she has a bloody nose. A blood clot comes out. It was so bloody that she almost choked on the blood clot. And then the doctors are amazed. They're in disbelief because they don't know how something like this is possible. But it is possible, apparently, because we've heard so many times, so many different stories about things like this. And again, I will leave a link for this website, by the way, Phantoms and Monsters. You should check it out. There's a lot of stuff that this guy has on here. It's very interesting stories, very interesting articles on here that he publishes. And also check out Preston Dennett's, he did an episode about, I think it was like 7 or 17 different cases. Yeah, let me pull that up here. Yeah, he was talking about 17, I think it was that one episode. Yeah, 17 different cases where aliens cured people. He actually writes, Preston writes for this episode that I'm going to provide the link for. It's called Aliens Healed Me in My Hospital Room. And he writes, healing is a major part of the extraterrestrial agenda. There are more than 300 cases coming from major researchers across the world, including Bud Hopkins, David Jacobs, John Mack, Barbara Lamb, Edith Fiore, Timothy Good, Brad Steiger, and more. People are being cured of a wide variety of injuries, illnesses, and conditions. Accounts reach back more than 100 years up to the present day. They can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime. Most cases occur on board UFOs or in a person's home, but a small portion of cases occur in a place you would never expect, inside a hospital. It may sound incredible, but almost 10% of UFO healing cases fit this category. This video presents 17 cases of this kind, which are only a small portion of the actual number of cases. So there you go. So Preston talks about that in his on his channel in this episode, and this was from this is from a year ago, actually. I'll leave a link for that one. And there's actually more here. Lon Strickler had more to say about this. He provided a commentary. He says this account contains several recurring elements seen in anomalous healing narratives: the presence of multiple tall humanoid beings, immobilization or paralysis of the witness, intense emotional calm or peace, memory gaps, and subsequent sudden medical remission are patterns reported in a small but persistent subset of experiencer testimony. The emotional tone suggests a mixture of fear, awe, and lasting gratitude. The witness frames the event as an intervention rather than an abduction or a threat. Notably, the beings did not communicate verbally and appeared focused solely on a specific task. Similar reports have surfaced periodically in North America, South America, and parts of Europe. Some involve hooded or robed figures, while others describe luminous entities or small grays accompanied by taller overseer types. Theories regarding origin range from advanced extraterrestrial medical intervention to interdimensional or ultra-terrestrial intelligences operating within limited contact parameters. From an investigative standpoint, the apparent physical healing combined with the structured nature of the encounter suggests purposeful agency rather than a random paranormal manifestation. However, independent medical documentation and corroborative evidence remain critical in evaluating such cases. And there's more to this. And again, check out Phantoms and Monsters. A lot of good stuff on here. And this story here most certainly was most intriguing, I gotta say. So, we talk here on the show a lot of times, it seems like, people are sometimes terrified by these beings, and rightly so. I mean, some people, they get abducted and there are things that are done to them and they don't like it and they're terrified and they want it to stop. But then you read stories like this. There's it's like a two-sided coin here. Sometimes they seem like they're being nice to us and fixing us up, curing this little girl, removing the tumor from her brain. And then other times, they're mutilating our cattle and, abducting people for hours on end. They're missing time, all kinds of weird medical procedures, painful medical procedures, marks on their body. I mean, are these all these beings working together, or is there different subsets? Right, different kinds of beings work with different aims, different agendas. Who knows? All I do know is that we are definitely not alone. Right, that's the one thing we do know. We are definitely not alone. All right, now moving on, I want to talk about this. Okay, now I just received a message, an email message from Disclosure Foundation. Okay, and that's what I want to talk about next. This was the message I received. It was actually from Christopher Mellon. He's the chairman of this Disclosure Foundation, which is trying to cause UFO disclosure. And it says here, the Disclosure Foundation has sent a formal letter to the executive director of arXiv, which is spelled ARXIV, but it's pronounced arXiv, regarding the rejection of two recent submissions from astronomer Dr. Beatriz Villarroel. arXiv is a widely used open access preprint repository operated by Cornell University, where researchers share scholarly articles with the scientific community prior to journal publication. Dr. Villarroel's work examines unexplained astronomical transients and their potential correlations with historical observations, including studies of transient optical signatures identified in historical sky surveys. The papers at issue had already passed peer review at established scientific journals before being denied posting on arXiv's open research platform. At the same time, a critique of the papers was accepted and posted to arXiv, creating a procedural inconsistency in how related submissions were handled. Our concern is not about endorsing any single conclusion. Rather, it is about the importance of consistent standards, procedural fairness, and ensuring that peer-reviewed research can be examined openly by the scientific community. And there was an excerpt from the letter that he sent. He says, unwelcome results from a valid data collection and analysis are clearly not scientific basis for rejection. Yes, I totally agree with that statement. And it goes on to say, arXiv plays a vital role in scientific communication by making research visible and accessible to the global academic community. We have respectfully asked that the platform review this decision and apply its moderation standards consistently so that peer-reviewed research can be evaluated transparently by the scientific community. And then you could read the full letter on here. Let me pull it up. Yeah, if you go to the Disclosure Foundation website, he has a letter and also an explanation about the letter and the concerns. And you can understand what the concerns are here, right? Now, before I go further on this, I just want to. I did talk about this last summer. It was in July of 2025 when I talked about this, and I'm just going to play a clip here so you understand what this is all about. These papers that Beatriz Villarroel put together with regard to this, what she discovered. This is from last July. Check it out. Now we find out in this other paper that was recently released, and this is something that's been talked about before, but now we're seeing this. It's not peer reviewed yet. It's unsure whether it will get peer reviewed. A lot of scientists like to stay away from these kinds of things. They'd rather ridicule this subject rather than take a serious look at anything, any kind of claims like this. But basically, there were images, photographs taken back in the 50s, throughout the 1950s, that show that there were objects, hundreds of thousands of objects surrounding the Earth, and this is something that's not really been talked about over. It seems like people back then did know about it, at least some of them, and they pretended it wasn't going on. But anyway, I have the paper on the screen right now, and I will leave the link for it. The name of the paper is Aligned Multi-Transient Events in the First Palomar Sky Survey. And they're talking about they're calling these objects transients in the paper. And actually, somebody explained this pretty well, I thought, on Twitter X, Mike Disclosure. Of course, I'll leave the link for this so you can check it out for yourself, but this is what he says about it. He says, breaking news, UAP orbital grid above Earth. For decades, the UFO debate has revolved around grainy photos and eyewitness testimony, but new research may have uncovered the most explosive evidence in history, not on Earth, but orbiting high above it. Dr. Beatriz Villarroel study has detected what looks like a vast network of artificial objects in high Earth orbit, captured between 1949 and 1958, years before Sputnik and the dawn of human spaceflight. If confirmed, this is not a single UFO or stray satellite, this is an entire surveillance grid, and the implications are staggering. And here's what it says. It says her research paper, which is titled Aligned Multiple Transient Events in the First Palomar Sky Survey. The team analyzed the first Palomar Sky Survey, a massive photographic record of the sky taken years before humanity's first satellite launch. The results are jaw-dropping. 298,165 short-lived flashes of light detected across the plates. Many were aligned and simultaneous, behaving like sunlight reflecting off metallic surfaces. Located 40,000 to 80,000 kilometers above Earth in high orbit, decades before we could put anything there. So I'm just going to stop there for a second. So whatever this was, it could not have been ours, so whose was it? Anyway, continuing here, it says in the 1950s, humanity didn't even have rockets capable of reaching low Earth orbit, yet the data suggests hundreds of thousands of objects forming a coordinated grid. Something or someone was already up there. To prove these weren't camera errors or natural events, the team used a simple test. When the flashes were inside the Earth's shadow or umbra, they disappeared. When in sunlight, they reappeared. That means only one thing. These are physical, sunlit objects in orbit. And then came the number that was smoking gun evidence, 22 sigma. That's the number that they're saying here. And Mike Disclosure says 3 sigma, that's intriguing. 5 sigma, that's discovery level. But 22 sigma, that isn't just proof. It's a statistical knockout punch. It's the kind of number you get when the data is screaming that something real is there. The odds of this being random, about 1 in 10 to the 70th power. That's that would be, just for people out there, it's a number I can't even pronounce it. It's so high up there, but that would be a 1 with 70 zeros after it. So that's the chances of this being random. 1 with 70 zeros after it. For all practical purposes, 0. This isn't noise, it's hard physical evidence. When scientists see 22 sigma, they don't call it a coincidence, they call it a smoking gun. A hidden network above us. This isn't 1 or 2 objects, it's hundreds of thousands, aligned, coordinated, reflective, in high orbit before we could put a single satellite there. That's infrastructure. And the timing raises more questions. A strong 3.9 sigma flash aligns with the 1952 Washington, D.C. UFO flap when unknown objects swarmed the United States Capitol. Another coincides with the 1954 European UFO wave, a massive spike in sightings across France and Italy. So it seems like when these things were really flashing it up there were incidents ongoing down here, like the Washington, D.C. flap in 52, the French UFO alien invasion of 1954, things like that. There would be a spike in the activity and the flashing of these objects that were apparently encircling our planet. Anyway, it continues here. It says, this data can be seen as evidence that this orbital network was active during major UAP events. The story takes an even darker turn at Harvard University. Between 1953 and 1968, there's a mysterious 15-year hole in Harvard's vast astronomical plate collection, known as the Menzel Gap after director Dr. Donald H. Menzel. In 1953, just as these anomalies were being recorded at Palomar, Menzel abruptly halted Harvard's plate program. He ordered the destruction of hundreds of thousands of plates without examining them. These plates would have covered the exact years Villarroel's study identifies as critical. So, what it seems like has happened here, Menzel, who was the biggest debunker of his time, probably the first big-time UFO debunker, right? This is the kind of person that Mick West is trying to fill the footsteps of, or fill the shoes of. He's trying to walk in those footsteps. This guy here, of course, he provided all sorts of absurd explanations for UFO sightings, for alien encounters, all that kind of stuff. He would provide the most absurd explanations and stigmatize it. He ridiculed it, all those kinds of things. But meanwhile, we found out after he died in the mid-70s, after he died, his name popped up as one of the members of the Majestic 12, of the original Majestic 12, and that he had clearances. He had high security clearances, right? So he basically had top secret clearances. So you wonder, was he covering this up? That's what it seems like to me. I mean, why would you just order the destruction of all these plates that have these images on them and just discontinue the program? That's because he didn't want everyone else to see all these objects out there hovering around the Earth. Obviously, him and other people within the Pentagon knew all about this and were secretly discussing it. That's what it seems like. I mean, you can't say that with certainty, but that's what it seems like after reading this information. And we all know, again, a lot of people did not realize that this guy had these top secret clearances while he was alive. It wasn't until after he was dead that this was discovered. And the only reason it was discovered was because his name popped up on the MJ-12 documents, and the late Stanton Friedman did an investigation into that and uncovered the fact that that Menzel, had this. Well, why did he have a top secret security clearance? Why was this Harvard astronomer being given this kind of treatment? Obviously, he was part of this control group, the initial control group. That's what it seems like, anyway. A lot of people believe that. I actually believe that, and this actually, to me, this kind of information here, further solidifies that. Anyway, continuing here, it says Menzel wasn't just a scientist. He had deep ties to United States intelligence and was a loud public UFO skeptic. The timing is uncanny. It can be speculated from Dr. Villarroel's study that his actions might have been an effort to erase evidence of a non-human orbital network. We are talking about an engineered pre-space age orbital grid built with technology decades beyond 1950s human capability. That means one thing: we have been watched for a very long time. 22 Sigma result doesn't suggest, it doesn't hint, it declares these objects are real, they are artificial, they are not ours. If true, this is the biggest cover-up in human history, not a crash saucer, but an entire fleet of alien hardware above our heads, quietly operating for decades, maybe centuries. The sky isn't whispering anymore, it's screaming. So here we are, and the situation is this, is that she has two scientific papers that she put together along with some of her colleagues, right? And she tries to publish them on this place, but on this platform, on this arXiv platform operated by Cornell University, they deny it, they reject it, right? But they have no problem accepting a critique of her findings. They accept. So I mean, you could go on there and read the critique of the findings, right? But you can't read what they're critiquing. Now, what sense does that make? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. See, this is it's so sad. The scientific community, some scientists, honest to God, I know they're smart. They went to college for a long time, right? They know what they're doing. A lot of these people, a lot of scientists, a lot of astrophysicists, they're extremely smart. But some of them, I'm going to tell you something, right? Whoever is responsible for rejecting those papers, right? They're dense. They're dense. They have no imagination. They're not. I don't even know how you could call yourself a scientist. How could you even call yourself a scientist? Right? You're going to put on the debunking paper, right? But you're not going to put on the papers that they're trying to debunk. You're not even going to show them. Look at this. Here's the paper that Mellon was talking about. This is the one that they did publish. They accepted this one. This was put together by, there's 5 different names on here. Kevin Knuth, Sarah Little, Cameron Pratt, Wesley Andres Waters, and Laura Domine. And these are all smart people, right? Critical evaluation of studies alleging evidence for technosignatures and the POSS1-E photographic plates. Okay, so they have a problem with her research, right? Okay, but at the same time, let's see her research, though. Instead, they just let the debunkers go put their ideas out for the most. Now, I'm not saying that this is it's not totally debunking, but if you read what they wrote here, it's very complicated. You can check it out. You can read it all the way to the summary and see what their conclusion is. But they have issues with what she put together. That's fine. Just like Mellon said, that's fine. You have issues. You point it out. You provide the scientific reasoning for it, but you don't just bury the actual reports that they're critiquing. That is absurd. But this is the way the situation is amongst the scientifically minded. It seems there are just too many people. Right? It's the same thing. It's like almost the same thing when you look at Wikipedia. The situation on Wikipedia. You have all those people. These people are the people who are members of that. The bunker cult, what's it called? The guerrilla skepticism of Wikipedia, right? Like even the person running that, who invented this thing, these people are dopes, a lot of them, right? But the same thing is happening here as what you saw happening with Wikipedia, where you have like this mindset that doesn't accept any of the evidence out there with regard to UFOs and aliens, controlling all the pages on Wikipedia related to UFOs and aliens for the most part. You get a whole bunch of comments from debunkers who, like Brian Dunning, like what makes that guy so important? The guy he's a crook, right? But yet, like he's featured prominently in a lot of different Wikipedia articles on UFOs and alien encounters, right? Why? But then meanwhile, you don't have a lot of stuff from the people who are real researchers researching UFOs and aliens. You don't get a lot of that. You just get all these debunking narratives. That's it. That try to poo-poo everything. And isn't that the same thing that's happening here, except amongst a scientific community, right? That doesn't want to, we don't want to look at that. They snub their nose to it. We're too good to look at that stuff. It's maddening, so maddening. But that's the situation. So hopefully, Mellon's plea will cause them to change their minds, because right now they look stupid. Like they look stupid to me. They should look stupid to everybody out there, right? But by doing this, by covering up the actual research papers that led to the critique that they did publish, that makes no sense. But that's just the way it is, folks. We all know how it is. I mean, there's still people, despite everything that's happening, despite all of the talk that's been going on. Like it's not just people from the UFO community. Everybody's talking about UFOs these days. People in Congress are talking about them. You have whistleblowers. There's just so much stuff going on, and for them to take Villarroel's paper and just shove it under the carpet and say, "Yeah, we reject it." Nah, but hey, we'll put on the critique of what these other people are saying. Think about that. Think about it. It's so childish. It's absolutely childish. You can't have two opinions on there. You can't have two different. Allow scientists to look at it to see what she's talking about, but they don't want to do that for whatever reason, because these people, whoever is in charge, whoever rejected it, must be a debunker. There must be a bunch of debunkers, obviously, right? People who don't want to believe this. They think it's silly. We were brought up to think it was silly, and we don't want to look at it because we're closed-minded. That's what it seems like to me, anyway. So hopefully something will change with that situation, because I thought that Villarroel's papers were amazing. I mean, to me, it shows that, looks like there was a cover-up ongoing on top of it. And you had Donald Menzel destroying a lot of these plates that were developed at Harvard, right? Because we find out years and decades later, after he dies, right, that he was apparently a member of the Majestic 12 group. And he was also one of the biggest UFO debunkers out there. And he was hiding evidence back in the 50s. He destroyed all the plates. Think about this. And now, isn't Cornell University just playing the same game here? Aren't they trying to, looks like to me, like they're trying to cover this up, this whole story up. The fact that it looks like there was over 200,000 objects floating around the planet before anybody sent anything up. It's amazing. But that's the same kind of story. Same old, same old, same old. There's people here among us that for some reason just don't want to face this reality. They just don't want to go there. They're not ready for it, or they're just too closed-minded or stupid or something. I don't know. I don't get it. But I'm going to tell them right now, there's something here. A lot of us have encountered these beings with our own eyes. So, get your heads out of your butts and get with the program already, for Christ's sakes. Anyway, I just want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.